First Dime Bookings. First Dime Bookings. Feldavis, lead singer, platinum recording, Public Announcement. I was born ninth child, okay, my parents. And, you know, I guess at that time, you know, they were having a lot of kids, you know. So I was told that one of my older sisters named me Felony. Okay. They said to have 8 children was a misdemeanor, and to have one more at that time was considered a felony. Okay. So they named me Felony, and it's spelled different. Okay. FELONEY. Well, it's actually starting out in grammar school. You know, I was always into sports. You know, and you know that kind of carries you. You know, throughout like the urban, you know, when you sports and things like that, that kind of sways you around that, you know, that gang affiliation, especially if you have some talent. Right. So I had a little talent, you know, so just actually being into sports at first. And then as I got older, you know, I started divvying into like, you know, chorus and singing and stuff like that. So, you know, being on the basketball team was one thing, and then they found out, you know, that I could sing. I was in the locker room one day and just kind of putting my stuff on and, you know, kind of humming and singing, and the guys walk in like, is that you? You know, I'm like, yeah, I sing a little bit. So I didn't want to be singing in front of the guys, but, you know, once they found out I could sing, and then it kind of, you know, went around the neighborhood, and so guys was like, okay, man, Fel sing, you know, he's a good basketball player. I was in high school. I was offered a situation to enter into a talent show. Okay. I think I was probably a freshman. And just like I said, through singing, all the basketball players was telling the teachers and everybody that I could sing. So I'll never forget, rest in peace, Miss Stallings. She was my art teacher. Okay. And she called me up and she said, Felony, I'm hearing around the school that you can sing. Mm-hmm. I said, well, where'd you hear that? You know, she said, don't play with me. Mm-hmm. You know, Miss Stallings was a big, tall lady, you know, like, and she said, you know, looking down at me. Like, so I'm like, well, yeah, I sing a little. She said, well, let me hear you sing. So I started kind of humming little things like that. She said, okay, yeah, well, I'm having a talent show, and I want you to be in it. So I'm like, you know, I've never did a talent show before. She said, well, yeah, you're gonna do this one. So I'm like, oh, okay. She said, so what artist do you like? So I'm kind of telling her, you know, the artist I like. She said, well, my favorite artist is Luther Vandross. Okay, so and he had became like one of my favorite singers, but I didn't really study him. So she said, he's my favorite artist, and he have some songs out that I would like, and I want you to sing a Luther Vandross song. So I said, I don't know him. She said, well, yeah, you learn it. And she said, if you don't do it, then this is going to affect your grade. So I go home and I find some Luther Vandross. And you know, my older brothers and sisters were into music, so that wasn't the problem. Luther Vandross was a hot, you know, so I learned to listen to the song, like, wow, I like this guy, you know. So I learned Luther Vandross. And the first song that I did, my sister and I, we did If This World Were Mine, the duet with Luther Vandross and Cheryl Lynn. And it was unbelievable, you know, unbelievable. Because at that time, you know, in the early 90s, you know, late 80s, early 90s, people weren't really singing. It was a lot of lip syncing. If you were really good with that, you know, then people were popular. So when you were singing for real, people was like, okay, they doing good, lip syncing, whatever. So I would do this thing. I would like stop the music, and I would tell them to stop the music, and then I would just sing something a cappella, like, you know, and people just started like really going in, going crazy, and you know, it's a great feeling. And I said, maybe I think I have something, you know. So she would put me in the talent shows like every year. So the students were like, we know Felony gonna win, da, da. So I started, you know, it's my teacher, my grade versus my peers. Right. So I'm like, Miss Stallings, well, I don't want to get in this year, you know, because she said, you want that grade, don't you? I'm like, so it was a lot of pressure, but it was fun at the same time. And that was it. Every year I would do a Luther Vandross song, and they would look forward to me doing that. So that, in terms, pushed me further into music. And I think my senior year, there were some talent scouts in the audience from Park District. And a guy heard me and asked me, hey, would you like to you know, try out for the talent show, Park District, you know, outside the school? So I said, yeah. And that was it. I did that, a few Park District talent shows, and the rest was like, you know, I ended up in New York, you know, and doing the Apollo with a couple guys, a group that I had joined, JMJ. And we got together, and these guys, they didn't really sing, but they were very good dancers. So they wanted to put together a singing group. And I came and I met with the guys, and we started working on vocals and stuff like that. And we did some, they were from another school. I went to Gates Park, they went to Hyde Park. So Gates Park was West Chicago, Hyde Park was like East Chicago by the lake. And we started working on talent shows and doing shows, stuff like that. And this guy, Kevin Shine, that managed the group at the time, was very popular in music and arts and stuff like that around Chicago. So started taking us around, and some kind of way he got us up here in New York. And we were doing shows. He got us into the Apollo. We watched my first live show concert that I had ever seen before. Well, not my first, but my second, I want to say, was Htown. They were performing at the Apollo. Htown, Intro, and SWV. Like, I want to say probably 91. We were out here, and we did the Apollo. Actually, twice. We did Showtime twice, and we did the amateur night once, and we was invited to do Showtime. So we did it, you know. They had this thing where they told us, and it was funny. They said, "Don't say that you're from Chicago," because I know it was a Chicago, New York thing. I don't know, it was weird, you know. They told us, "Don't say that we're from Chicago." When asked, don't do an a cappella song, and do not do anything original. So we, you know, Chicago bros, we're gonna do everything they said not to do. So we did. We told them we was from Chicago, you know. And then another thing, we had, like, you know, it was myself, you know, I was the chocolate bunny in the group, and then the other guys were like light-skinned guys, pretty boys. So it was a win. When we walked on the stage, they saw the girls were screaming, you know, so I'm like, we got this, you know. So we did an a cappella song, and we did our own material, and we won. At the time, I think it was Steve Harvey. And I think after the last show that we did, I think it was Mark Curry. Okay. Yeah, Mark Curry was there. Yeah. So I mean, we had that opportunity to do the Apollo, and it seemed like it was just like time was going by so fast. Like seemed like right after that, I was right back performing as a major artist on that same stage. After the local group, we did that for some time, and then that group broke up. Okay, so me and one of the other guys by the name of Jawan Williams, we ended up forming a group, just the two of us, called Concrete Level. And this is when we moved to New York. We signed on with the independent record company, and we moved to New York, and we started working on music together. We did a single we put out a single. We did a whole album, but we put out a single called Turning Me On. And we were touring, you know, local group, you know. We was also on the label with a female group by the name of Nuttingnyce. And they had a single out on the Mo Money soundtrack called Froggy Style. You know, and they were very talented, you know. So this was the early R&B stage, early 90s. And we was touring and stuff like that, you know, doing dates and stuff like that. So at some point the label kind of folded, you know, and we were just kind of left to, you know, go home and start all over. Figure it out, you know. So come back to Chicago, and I start just kind of doing more open mics, you know, writing more, and I get a call. You know, because actually when I was out in New York working with the independent label, there was a guy who was kind of doing road management work for the label. His name was Eric Sexton. He go by Eric the Wiz in Chicago, popular DJ. And so we had developed a relationship when I was out with the independent label touring and stuff like that. So we get back to Chicago. So I'm working, I'm doing shows and trying to build my thing up. You know, me and the guy that I was singing with, we just kind of parted ways. You know, he was kind of doing whatever. So Eric, I get a call from Eric. I want to say maybe 6 months or so after we got back to Chicago. And he said, "What's up, man? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm still writing and trying to see where I'm at. You know, doing some open mics and trying to build my little solo thing up or whatever." He said, "Okay." He said, "I got a situation for you." So I'm like, "Yo," he's like, "What's up?" He said, "I'm gonna come by and pick you up." You know, at the time I came back, was at my parents' house. So he said, "I'm gonna come by and I'm gonna pick you up." I said, "Okay, cool." You know, he popped up, he pulled up on me. So we took off riding, whatever. He said, "So you doing your solo thing?" I said, "Yeah, trying to." He said, "So what do you think about another group?" So mind you, at that time, when he asked me that, my mind was kind of like, because I know we had did the group thing, and prior to the breakup, there was a little tension with that label thing, because, you know, we didn't know if they were going to fold, we didn't know what was going to happen, and it's like, man, I really want to do my own thing right now. Yeah, so I'm debating, you know, do I want to do the solo thing? You know, do I want to, you know, try the group thing out? So he said, "Well, here's the thing." He said, "Are you familiar with RKELLY and Public Announcement?" I'm like, yeah. So, man, you know, he said, "Well, you know, RKELLY left Public Announcement, and he's now working on the 12-play album, and Public Announcement is now looking for a lead singer." So I was like, whoa. So the solo thing went out the window, you know, because, mind you, I was a big fan, you know. Not to get off the subject, but I was actually, the day that RKELLY and Public Announcement debuted as a new group in Chicago at the Hyatt, they were showcasing. And that was like my first, remember I told you I saw 2 live concert. That was like my first concert that I'd ever seen, but it was just a showcase. And I was there standing right in front of the stage watching them perform. And it just went like full circle. It's crazy. It's yeah. So I told him right off the bat, I'm like, hey man, I'm in. Whatever I got to do. I said, man, those guys. He said, you know, they're not singers. They were dancers behind R. Kelly, you know. But one of the guys wants to turn the group into a singing group, you know. So I was like, yeah, I'm with it, you know. I'm with it, you know. Like the situation in the beginning with my local group, you know, they were dancers. So it's all full circle. Yeah, and it's amazing. But I go and meet the guys. Now, mind you, also in my talent show days, when I was doing a talent show, the local Park District talent shows, I used to compete against these guys, but they weren't Public Announcement at the time. The name of the group was called Rush. And they used to do the pantomime. They had the jackets with the glitter, and they would win all the talent shows. So when I went to meet with them as Public Announcement, they knew exactly who I was, because, you know, they was like, you the guy who cut the music off and sing a cappella and killed the talent. I'm like, yeah. It was like, man, you know, dope. And then I also had heard that before the label, independent label, had folded, before they got right after the R. Kelly thing, they tried to sign on with that independent label. You know, so we were kind of always in the same, you know, element. Yeah, you know. So, long story short, you know, we talked, me and the guys, and, you know, Earl, he knew exactly who I was. He was like, yeah, this is it. This is it. I know this guy. I know what he can do. You know, he's seasoned. You know, I've heard their music, you know, on the independent label. I know he write, you know. So they was like, let's go to work, you know. So we started immediately. You know, we started doing music. You know, he was a producer. His production company was at his house. So I think that day we first met, we started doing music. He gave me tracks and stuff. He said, man, take this stuff home, man, and see what you can come up with, you know. And I met the other guys also, you know, so we talking. And I could tell at that time that there was tension with them, you know, because the other guys weren't so, you know, so friendly. They was like, you know, kind of distant. What up, man? You know, what up? Right. So they had convinced Eric, who was managing them, that they didn't really need nobody else. So Eric set up a performance for them, for me to see, but for them to see as well. So he set up a show. I think it was at a club called the Cubby Bear in Chicago. And, you know, they doing a regular show that they used to do with R. Kelly. You know, they had the lights and the whole robotic thing going on, and everybody was excited. I mean, people were there, you know, it was a crowd, and everybody was there. And they had the whole anticipation. So I'm looking like, wow, these people, I'm looking around, I'm like, well, maybe they good. You know, so after the little intro, you know, they came out and was trying to sing, and it just crashed. After the show, we had this meeting, and you know, Eric was like, hey guys, we got to take it to another level. You know, y'all know what this guy does. We can put this thing together as a unit, and let's do something different now. You know, the R. Kelly thing is over. That's you know. Right. So we started trying to work together. You know, I was recording. I was going home. I was writing songs. They were listening. Like, oh, we like this, we like that. But where the problem came in is they weren't. There was one guy that could record pretty good, sing okay. His name was Andre Boykins, but the other guys weren't. You know, so it was just me and Dre. Yeah. So Dre, my thing was like, whatever you guys need me to do. I don't have to be the lead singer. You know, whatever. I'm just here to help take it to the next level. So Dre and Earl was kind of bumping heads. Earl was like, I want Felony to be the lead singer because he brings a new sound. Dre at the time was kind of like trying to be a R. Kelly clone. He liked the bald head and the whole, and he also like he would dress like R. Kelly with the blade, with the vests and the cane, and Earl was like, I don't want that. Let's do something different, you know. So I had a different little swag or whatever, you know. So he's like, man, we need to do. So they would bump heads, argue. There were fights in the studio with him and Earl about this, that. So eventually Dre ended up leaving. You know, So Dre went back and found R. Kelly. You probably saw him in some of the videos, R. Kelly, the I Wish video. He was the dark-skinned guy that was Dre, you know. So Earl said, okay, Fel, let's work, you know. So started working. The other guy, Rick, was there, and another guy by the name of Mello, he was there. So now the challenge is on for them as far as stepping their game up vocally. And as time went on, you know, it's like, you know what, Rick left because him and Dre was very good friends. So Rick left. Yeah, so by this time, Earl said, Fel, you know some guys that sing? I said, yeah, I know a few guys, you know. So I went and found one of my buddies, this guy by the name of Euclid Gray. He's a good friend of mine, and back in the day, I would manage a little group that was, a couple of them was his cousins and stuff like that. So that's how he and I developed a relationship. He would tell me, man, if anything happens, man, bring me in. So it was cool. So I found him. You know, we got together. I got a situation, man. I said, Public Announcement. He was an over-the-top guy. Oh, man, for real? I'm like, yo, look, don't bring that, man. Just, you know. So, but he was a lot of energy. Yeah, and he was a really nice-looking guy. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, when I put this group together, I want it to be a concept. We need a pretty boy that could bring this, and, you know. And I know my thing was like pretty much soul. And then I said, I want to find a guy who can close it out like a gospel kind of guy. You know, that was kind of a la Blackstreet. Okay, so Euclid was pretty boy, you know, and he had this baritone kind of thing, but he used to act a little bit, so he's a character on stage. So I brought him in and I introduced him to Earl, and immediately when he came in, Earl saw him and was like, because he was a nice looking guy, you know, I said, Earl, this the chick magnet. Yeah, so he was a chick magnet, you know. Then we started recording, and we actually did some shows together. So at the time, Eric was kind of test marketing the group as we was building it. So we did some shows, you know, and things were picking up, you know. The girls were kind of like, you know, we was doing different songs, and I was doing some leads and stuff like that. So he said, okay, we got it. Earl was excited. Rick was still, from the old group, Rick was still in the group. So he was kind of there, but he wasn't, you know. No, not Rick. Rick left. I told you, Rick left. Mello was still with the group. So Mello was a real stand-up guy. So he told me, so he said, Fel, you know, man, you're a great vocalist, and I can't keep up, you know what I mean? I'm gonna move around, I'm gonna do my thing. Yeah, he said producing is, you know, kind of like my thing, you know. I'm just gonna go and just start producing. He said, if you guys need some stuff, you know, from me as a producer, I'm here. So now we needed another member. So at the time, Earl said, you know anybody else? I said, sure. And I went out scouting, you know. So I knew this girl named Quanda, and her and I, we would do music stuff together. So I would tell her what was going on with Public Announcement as we hung out. And she said, well, I think I know somebody. So she told me about Glenn. She said, he's a great singer. He's a musician. He plays drums. She gave me the address to his church, you know, and I went to his church, you know, and I said, hey man, look, you know, I sing with Public Announcement. Quanda told me that you sang, and I want to have you audition for the group. He was like, man, okay, cool. He said, man, you know, give me a call. We exchanged numbers. So I asked him to sing something at church. He said, man, I can't sing no R&B in church. We're at church. But I was excited. So we exchanged numbers, and we ended up talking over the phone, and we sang over the phone. We did, we were kind of fans of Intro. So he said, you like Intro? Yeah. I said, what's your favorite song? So we both ended up singing it like a duet over the phone. We were in love, and now you tell me that you want to turn and walk away. All of my sunshine, my happy. So he's vibing and kicking. You know, he sung the other verse, and it was just a gel over the phone. So he's like, man, let's do it. So we met, went to the studio. He sang. They liked him. So next thing, we recording, writing, doing shows. Recording, writing, doing shows. And we end up having, Eric went out to start building his management team, because we had the group, we had some songs. So now it was time to really kind of like take it to the next level. Body Bumping, yeah. I wrote that along with Euclid Gray and his sister, Monica. So Euclid and I would always come together and write, so, just writing some stuff. Earl gave me tracks. He said, hey, look, go and write some stuff. So most of the stuff that came, that I wrote for the All Work No Play album when we got signed to A&M, that was already written. The Body Bumping record, our hit record came, it was kind of weird, so Earl was producing tracks and he had a bag of, at the time, it was cassettes. Okay. So he had a bag of cassettes and I would always kind of look over there. I said, man, what do you got on those cassettes? He said, he said, I'm producing like right here. I said, man, let me go through this bag. So I went through the bag, I picked the cassette up and it had old tracks on it. Okay. So I went home and I'm listening to the beats on it and came across this funny beat, I had never heard before because R&B at the time was just that, This beat had like a, kind of like what they're doing now, but back then, had them running the little hi-hats. Yeah, so I'm like, whoa, what is this, So I called him, I said, man, you got a track on here that got this kind of thing. So we went back to the studio, he played, he said, that was something I was experimenting. I said, I got it. So I went back home, listening to it, me and Euclid listening to it, so I started kind of writing to it, what I'm saying, I'm singing verses, and it just came. Some tracks kind of write themselves, when you get a vibe. So, he's writing, what I'm saying, so Euclid coming up with stuff, I'm coming up with stuff, so I'm coming up with these lyrics, I said it's kind of sexy, out on the dance floor, he's vibing, I'm writing the verse, and Euclid actually came up with the hook, so Euclid listening to it, so I'm writing the lyrics, and Euclid over there, and he's like, yippee-yi-yo, yippee-yi-yo, I know that sound crazy, I'm not sure, what did you say? He's like, yippee-yi-yo, 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 so we started singing and playing around, yippee-yi-yo, yippee-yi-yo, wanna bump your body, it was the one. We came back to the studio, we wrote it, I wrote the first verse, Euclid, we kind of got together on the hook part, and then we didn't have a second verse, so Euclid like told me, he said, well, my sister, right? So I'm like, send it to her, we was trying to work. And she came back with the second verse, I'm gonna grant your wish and let you, put a little feminine kind of thing on it, and I'm like, that's it. We went back to the studio, we recorded it, and by that time, Eric had brought in a partner. Okay. This guy was, his name was Donnie Cologne, and he was at the time the music director for WGCI in Chicago. So we're going somewhere with this, So now, when Donnie came, the record was recorded. We didn't have a mix on it, we didn't have a master on it, we just raw recorded. So Eric played the record for him, and he was like, play it again. Eric played the record for him again, play it again, played it again, right? So we all listening, he was like, make me a copy of it. So Eric's like, we gotta master it, we gotta mix, he said, make me a copy of it ASAP. He took it right to the radio station and played it, had them to play it, and took off. We weren't signed. The record took off. Donnie established a publishing company, you know who, and a management company, and we signed to them. And after that, the record took off, and we were touring, and he made like some silhouette covers and postcards, and we did the CD promo and passed it out, but you couldn't see who the group members were, so it was a mystery. So things are building, things are building, and we're doing dates and performing and stuff like that, and then we ended up actually coming here to New York to audition for some labels. Lots of them, like everybody, people are hearing the song, So we auditioned for Arista. I remember Arista personally because we actually auditioned for Clivedavis, and I didn't know who he was. So it was just a bunch of people in the room. So I remember specifically climbing on top of the table where the execs were around, and I climbed on top of the table while I was singing, and I sang directly in Clivedavis' face, like literally. So we got through singing, and my manager was like, "You know who that is?" I'm like, "No, I'm just singing." He was like, "That's Clivedavis. He's responsible for this artist, that artist, that artist." So Clive passed on Public Announcement. He said, "I love the group." He said, "I love the energy," but they had just signed Next.
Okay.
So they gave us their promo. They said, "This is our group. We just signed." He said, "Other than that," but when we left, one of our music directors who was working along with the group, he pulled me back. He said, "I know you guys weren't in that meeting, but what happened was Clive wanted to sign you as a solo artist. But, you know, at the time, Donnie was like, hey, look, it's either the group or we pass, and we passed." But, you know, in hindsight, I'm thinking like, man, I wonder what that would have been like, you know. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would, you know, because there were things like that have been said to me like over the years, you know, about just my character and actually my voice. You know, a lot of people would just say crazy stuff like when I would sing, like you know, and I was called you his brother. Say that I get that a lot, you know. I didn't idolize him, you know. He's very talented, you know, and it's funny because people don't know that there's two Public Announcement groups. There's guys that dance behind him, and then away from that, me becoming the lead singer is a totally different group of guys who went on to do platinum music, Body Bumpin' John Doe, you know, All Work No Play, the album, the Don't Hold Back album, you know, Smoke Clear's album, you know. So, but no, I never had the opportunity to even be in the room with that guy while he was doing what he does, you know. I wish I had. Right now, Public Announcement is currently doing music. Platinum, let me change that. Platinum recording Public Announcement, because I have to make a difference. You got the guys that dance behind R. Kelly, and then you have Platinum recording Public Announcement, which is the Public Announcement who've done hit music, Body Bumpin', John Doe, Mayonnaise Pool, all those records. So just to let the world know that. Them, the dancers behind R. Kelly, and the Platinum recording Public Announcement. Okay, but we're currently doing music. We're working on a new project right now. We have music out right now on Spotify, iTunes. You can go and just Google Public Announcement New Music. It's there. And also with myself, I have a project just out now. It's called 11. Okay, it's on iTunes, Spotify. It's called 11. Social media, Feldavis, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Public Announcement, Facebook, the official PA. You can find us there, you know. And also with myself, I'm working on music. I have daughters that I'm working on, have them in the studio right now, you know, working on music and doing plays, you know. Actually kind of getting my big screen on. My big screen on. Well, I want to say definitely new music. Okay, look for me also on the big screen. You know, I'm working on plays, doing plays also. Look for Public Announcement, a documentary. You know, our story. You know, post R. Kelly, and we just want to say let our fans know that we're out here, we're working, we're doing music. Continue to follow us. You know, on social media. Again, the official PA. You can find us there. That's our fan page. Also, Feldavis Rhythm is my fan page on Facebook, and Feldavis Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You know, and First Dime Bookings. If you want to book Feldavis, you got to book with First Dime. They get you your first dime. My baby can't get off of my mind. I see marriage. For real, ain't no lie. I see walking down that aisle, me, her, and a child, in just a little while. Her spirit, hey, it showers all of me. When I'm away from her, I can't wait until I be back with her again. My homie, love, a friend, with beauty out in hand. She's all woman. She's graceful as can be. She's all woman. She's so in love with me. We be loving all night. She keeps it real tight. She's my light. She years, all